Dear students, good morning. Let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, the 5th March 2018. The first article, The Saffron Breeze in the Northeast, Small Arena Big Win. These two articles are related to the recent elections in Northeast. We have to see these two articles from three perspectives. One is political dimension, societal dimension, the third is governance perspective. So politically, the BJP is able to establish its presence throughout India now. Previously, BJP was confined itself to North India. Now in East India and also soon in South India, it is able to establish its presence. And second is, the left is an ideological enemy to BJP. And many a times in 1980s and 1990s, the BJP was unable to come to power because of the third front, and the fulcrum of this third front is made on left. And left has enjoyed a huge influence in the national politics disproportionate to the number of MPs it had. It is the ideological strength the left had. Now, the BJP was able to directly take against left. Especially in Tripura, there are only two factions, left and anti-left faction. Today, all the anti-left words are mobilized by the BJP and its allies. It means the Congress is decimated to almost zero in Tripura. So from these perspectives, what we can state is the BJP is established itself as a strong national party like never before. It has got implications for West Bengal and also Kerala. So the Trinamool Congress is facing a strong heat from BJP, and soon BJP is expected to establish as a formidable force in West Bengal. Similarly, if you go to Kerala, Congress and left front, these are fighting the elections and exchanging the power, and BJP wants to establish itself as a formidable force there, and these elections will definitely provide a kind of solution to them. Next is societally. So if you see the voting behavior in these elections, the middle class voters, especially from urban areas, they have favored BJP. What is the reason for this? The developmental plank which was initiated by BJP during the previous Lok Sabha elections appears to be relevant even today. So the developmental plank, especially the neoliberal developmental model which was opposed by the left front, is able to garner the votes for the BJP. And third, from the governance front, the smaller states, these are more or less depend upon the center for their funds and sustenance. And northeastern states are specially for this. I can say Indian federalism is unequal in this sense. We have large states like UP on one side and small states like Tripura, Meghalaya, Mizo, etc. on the other side. How we are balancing the federalism with large and the smaller states when this question comes up? One way, the state is offering the liberal benefits to the smaller states. And on the other way, this liberal benefits is making them to depend more and more towards the center. It means the federal balance is shifting in favor of the center, and center is enjoying undue influence on these states. That's how we can see it as. Now if you see in Meghalaya, though Congress got the highest number of the seats, finally the front or else alliance which has got the support of the center is taking up the power. The same thing has happened in Goa. So in smaller states, the federalism is balanced towards the interests of the center. That's how I can make this point as. Now let's go to New Star in Crowded Sky. It is about politics in Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu has a special place in Indian politics, especially from federalism and also from the South Indian or else anti-Hindi movements are being concerned. So let's talk about this way. When Hindi was supposed to be made as official language, anti-Hindi movement in 1965 in Tamil Nadu, it has provided for victory of the Dravid parties in 1967. So the Congress was replaced from power in 1967 elections because of the strong footing in anti-Hindi agitation. And the second aspect, the Dravidian parties, these are based on rationalism in thinking. Next is anti-North Indian sentiment, anti-Hindi and anti-Brahmanism. Now, this kind of radicalism existing in Dravidian movement is receding backwards, is receding now. The third is there is a leadership vacuum in Tamil Nadu. After the death of Ms. Jayalalitha and retirement of Arals to retire, Mr. Karunanidhi, there is a lot of political vacuum, and this vacuum needs new faces to mobilize the voters. And there is a strong feeling of Tamil exceptionalism among the voters. This is on one side. On the other side, the populism and cult leadership culture is very strong in Tamil Nadu. And second, there is a kind of patron-client relationship. What is meant by this patron-client relationships? So I maintain my followers by giving some doles to them. So this patron-client relationship is very strong in Tamil Nadu. We can clearly see them in populistic culture where cinema influences them. And second, providing for freebies in the elections. All these are a reflection of this. Third, the corruption is on rise. So that's what we call it as rent seeking. And many of the companies are moving out of Chennai because of the increased rent seeking in governance. In these circumstances, new forces are entering into the Tamil Nadu politics by Kamal Hassan and Rajinikanth. So Kamal Hassan has certain definite advantage for the following reasons. One is he himself has declared as an rationalist. He has, though he is a Brahmin, he is able to talk about anti-Brahminism and against to the right-wing politics. He himself has declared as left-center when he announced the party's structure. But his success depends on two things. One is to what extent he can fight this rent-seeking behavior in the political system in Tamil Nadu. And the second thing is to what extent he is able to connect with the local masses in the culture of populism in Tamil Nadu. So these will determine his victory. And next is avoid trade wars. You know, the President Trump has recently announced increased import duties on steel and aluminium. So obviously it is going to make the production cost for the automobile industry on the higher side. It may add up to the inflation in the American economy. But why did he announce that? One is the trade deficit in America is very high. It is unfavorable to United States and favorable to the European Union and also to China. And second, it is also a populistic move because most of the voters of the Trump, they belong to the states of Virginia, etc. States of Virginia, Pennsylvania. These states are the steel producing states. And the third thing is, it may be a bargaining chip for Mr. Trump to decrease or else to reduce the trade deficit and to encourage the American exports to the other countries. But remember, protectionism is dangerous for the global trade. And when countries resort to protectionism, it makes everyone equally poor. Now, as America imposed the duties, if European Union starts doing the same, and if China starts doing the same, ultimately the worst effect will be on the global trade and global prosperity. So that is the point we need to remember. And the next is righting wrongs in land acquisition. So 1894, we have the Land Acquisition Act. It was unduly favorable to the state vis-a-vis citizen. Now in 2013, a Land Act was made, that is Fair Compensation and Transparency in Land Acquisition, Rehabilitation and Resettlement Act. It wanted to correct some injustices of the 1894 Act. Now, what is the section 24 of this Act? Let's take. If the land is acquired greater than 5 years, and if no compensation is paid, and even if compensation is paid, if it is paid not to the original owners, to the treasury of the government, then it shall not be deemed to be a land acquisition and land has to be returned. So it means 2009, let's take this. Before that year, if any land is acquired and land is not yet taken control by the government, award is made but the land is not taken control by the government and no compensation is paid, or if the person is not accepting the compensation and the government has paid the compensation in a treasury instead of the court, then the land has to be returned to the original owner. That is what is section 24. Remember again, the first is award is made, the land is not acquired yet, and second, no compensation paid. This is one condition. So award is made, compensation is not accepted by the original owner. Then what is the way out? The compensation is supposed to be paid in the court. Instead, the government has paid the compensation to its own treasury. So in these two conditions, what the law clearly states is the land has to be given back to the original owner. In this context, Indoor Development Authority versus Shailendra, this case is important. What the Supreme Court stated is this: if the person did not accept the compensation, original owner did not accept the compensation, it is paid to the treasury instead of the court, that can be accepted. And the second thing what it stated is, in calculating these 5 years, we have to eliminate the stay orders or injunctions given by the courts. So because of this, the section 24 got diluted. Why this 5 years period is been kept? So any acquisition award is made, then all the formalities can be completed in maximum of 5 years. If it is not completed in 5 years, it means that there is a lapse on the part of the administration, and a person or the real owner of the land shall not be deprived of his property. That's why this section 24 is made in the first place in law. So the original intent of this law is to give back the land to the owner concerned. So the Supreme Court judgment is going against this. That's what this article is about. Next is Congress outsmarted in Meghalaya. You know, in Meghalaya, Congress emerged as one single largest party. But in spite of this, it was unable to form the government. Here we need to understand the role of the governor. Whenever no party gets the sufficient majority, the role of the governor becomes very important. Objectively, the governor has to look for stability. So when the stability is the objective, who has got the highest number of support of MLAs, that coalition or party shall be formed, called to form the government. This is what is the decision took by the governor in Meghalaya. From that perspective, we have to see that. PNB scam hits buyers' credits. So here you need to look in your economy for LIBOR, London Interbank Offer Rate, and then buyer's credit. Buyer's credit. These two words you try to understand the meaning. And then Myanmar puts off border pact. So India and Myanmar are supposed to enter into a border pact in which the people living within 16 kilometers of distance on either side of the border shall get the border passes so that they can move freely across the border. This is meant to promote trade across the border to improve the opportunities and livelihoods for the people living across the border. Now, GST absolutely necessary for India. So remember one example, the New Zealand's GDP grew 4 times after the GST has imposed. So you can take this as an example while writing your answer. And next is Indian GDP is expected to double after the introduction of GDP, that is after the introduction of GST. So that is one of the point which you can talk about. So write about the advantages of the GST, and from this you can quote New Zealand example. Solar goal for 2022 too hot to handle. So what are the reasons? By 2022 we want to achieve 100 gigawatts of the power from solar energy. But are we really serious? Let us see it as this way. One is import duties have increased on the solar panels. So it is to promote Make in India. And second, the GST is raised to 5% from 0% on indigenous solar panels. It means the cost of production is bound to increase. But the cost paid to the companies producing the solar energy is decreasing. That is, solar tariffs are coming down. So many states are revising power purchasing agreements. Because of that, there is no predictability with regard to the policy initiatives of the government. And finally, most of this has to come from the solar rooftops. But this domestic incentive for placing the solar rooftops is very less in India. So these are the reasons why we can't handle it. A regulator to oversee CA Institute is necessary. So this article is written by Income Tax Commissioner. Remember one thing, always the income tax people and CAs, they are always loggerheads with each other. So obviously this article is expected to be biased against the chartered accountants. But for the point, I have two important things over here. In the United States of America, there is an agency called Public Companies Accounting Oversight Board. Public Accounting Oversight Board. So it has been established through an act that is called Sarbanes-Oxley Act. Similarly, in United Kingdom, there is FRC, Financial Reporting Council. These are the monitoring and oversight agencies for accounting and audit, especially by the chartered accountants kind of professionals over there. So in India, this function is being done by ICAI, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, which is kind of a self-regulatory body for the profession. Now, National Financial Reporting Agency is appointed by the government, and most of the powers of ICAI for public limited companies are being transferred to NFRA. So this is in line with this international practice. That's what the author is trying to say that. In this context, what is NFRA role? Please read this article very carefully. And this is about today's newspaper. In the last page, I gave you the notes that will be available to you at laix.in/CivilsPrep. Thank you very much and all the best.